Welcome, everyone. Um, Thanks for joining us today. Hi, everyone. My name is Jenny Whitener, and I'm the CEO of Bridge Innovate. And we are thrilled to welcome you today to another really great webinar as a part of our Inspire series. Today's program is the Prosperity Playbook, and we're thrilled to welcome with us Mackey McNeill, the author of the Prosperity Playbook, Planning for Successful Family Business Succession. So most of you probably know Bridge Innovate, but let me do a quick introduction. We're thrilled to welcome you to our company. Bridge Innovate is a global network of business strategists, consultants, and leaders who work alongside your team to create defining moments for your organization. We've had the great pleasure of working with large businesses as large as McKesson and Cargill, to small enterprises like the United Way and Thrive Regional Partnership. So we love doing meaningful, purposeful work, and that's one reason it's so exciting to go on to the next slide and introduce you to our speaker today. Mackey McNeill, CEO and president of Mackey, is a Cincinnati-based firm offering family-owned businesses an invaluable and innovative combination of coaching and CFO-level financial expertise to increase their chances of successful succession. Mackey is the author of several books, including the Gold IPPY award-winning internationally published book, The Intersection of Joy and Money, a workbook for changing your relationship with money and the dynamics of money, in addition to the Prosperity Playbook that we'll get an insight on today. She's been quoted as a financial expert in major media, including the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Money, and USA Today. We're thrilled to welcome Mackey as a part of our speaker of our Inspire series. I know it's going to be a great session. And so without further ado, let me hand it off to Mackey.
Thank you, Jenny. And thank you to the Bridge Innovate team for having me here today. You know, it is an author's dream to be asked to talk about their book. So thanks for making my dream come true on this day. The only challenge is we're going to do this very quickly, but I hope you'll have a lot of questions because I have a lot of answers. So welcome again, and thanks for spending some time with us. We're going to talk about, I want to preface what we're going to talk about today from the space of where we are, which is in the midst of a global pandemic, obviously a global crisis. You know, I have a saying that I've used with business owners for many years: never let a good crisis go to waste. And I hate to call this a good crisis, but I would call it a big crisis. And in a big crisis, there's an opportunity for big change. So I'm going to encourage you, if you have a big idea, if you've always had something you want to do in your business, I believe now is the best time in my career that I've ever seen to try it out. Try things out. People are change ready. Everything in their life has already changed. So if you want to try something out in your business, please do it. We've had some phenomenal success with our clients trying on new things. They've increased their average revenue per customer 25%. They've made dramatic increases in growth and revenue and bottom line. And I've seen it happen over and over by trying new things. So I'm going to start there and say, you know, let's try something new. We're going to give you some tools to look at. I'm going to show you how to download those tools from our website, and I'm going to walk you through how they work. So the Prosper for Business process was created by me from really my passion. And I'm going to talk about my some personal crisis in my life and how they helped shape this process. I started my business when I was 27. So I was wise at 27, and I said, I'm ready to go with two real visions. One is to be a part-time mom, mostly stay-at-home mom. I wanted to mostly be at home and work a little bit part-time. And my big dream for my business was to create something transformational. I'm a certified public accountant, a personal financial specialist, and a registered investment advisor. And I wanted to take those financial skills and really create something transformational to help business owners achieve their goals. And that's where I started when I was 27. 3 years later, my husband left his job from an illness that he had. And so as a result, I became the family business owner. It was my first big financial crisis as a person. And from that, I pivoted and said, you know, I've got to be the breadwinner now, and I've got to make a living. So I'm going to do what I know how to do, which is to be a really good CPA. And I built one of the largest CPAs firms in Greater Cincinnati, the only one run by a woman and the only first generation firm on that list. Lots of things were good, but of course I had lost track of my personal passion. And another crisis came into my life. The illness that caused my husband to leave his job he passed away from that illness. And so everything went sideways for a while. And as many people who've experienced grief experienced, I did a lot of inner work then. And then that inner work of looking at what was important, life was short. And I realized I needed to go back to my original passion and go find my passion again and create this transformational process for business owners. So the Prosperity Playbook is a result of that work that I've done over the last 20 years, and the Prosper for Business process that we're going to talk about, which is outlined in the playbook, is that process that I created. So I'm excited to share it with you today. It comes directly from my passion and in my healing. So I've lived the dream of never let a good crisis go to waste. So as we talk about Prosper and we talk about what is involved, well, let's look at it as it is a agile planning and scorecarding system for reaching your goals. So as a result of that, that was what came out of this big idea of how do I help business owners really achieve transformational growth and for their business, but also do it in a way that doesn't create burnout and stress in their life, which is how I think we've been taught to do it as Americans, right? Is they'll work your usual 60, 70 hours a week. So maybe how would we do that just a little different? So with some better tools, right? And that's what this process involves. Next slide. So I want to start where we start with our business clients is, what is your utopia business life? So take a moment right now to write down what's your utopia business life. Don't think about what is your big idea that you think will make the most money. Write down your idea that would be the most satisfying and exciting for you to live into. What's your utopia business life? Just write down your first thoughts. Don't judge them. Great. Right, everybody got something down? Next slide. So, when you enter into a business, it is a commitment to growth, because everything that you need to change about your life shows up for you to change, and everything that is confronting and when you're not reaching your goals is out there. And it is an act of faith that's often, as this diagram shows, or this picture shows, uncertain. Like, where is this path going to lead me? I hope it's going to lead me somewhere, but how am I going to get there? And the Prosper for Business process, next slide, really takes that unclear, where am I going, and makes it a little clearer. There still may be a bridge that needs to be built. There still may be a long way to forge to get to the next level in your business. But where you're going, the obstacles that you're going to encounter become much clearer. And as a result, there's a lot less stress and a lot more feeling of security about how you're going to get there. Next slide. So we see that that the people need about 4 different characteristics really to benefit tremendously from this process, from the tools in the Prosperity Playbook. This is what it looks like, by the way, if you haven't seen one. So the Prosperity Playbook. The first one is a strong intention from your business. Jenny talked about that when she opened and said at Bridge Innovate, they do have strong passion for the work that they're doing. And I believe that's what really powers us, is our passion and purpose. And if you have a strong passion and purpose, that's the big engine that really is going to help you take your business to the next level, or start a business that you want to start. Enthusiasm for our work and an enthusiasm for this process, because if you have to be a little bit willing to be uncomfortable, because a lot of what we work with people on is financial data, and financial data kind of by definition makes a lot of people uncomfortable. The third thing that we find that works is transparency with your team. Those business owners that really embrace the gifts of their team and bring their team along and encourage their team in their process do so much better. And so sharing financial information, sharing your goals, bringing them in is important. And of course, a dream for a bigger life. Do you have something that you really want to accomplish that's beyond burnout, but that's really important in your life? What do you really want to do? Do you want to make more, work less, have less stress? What's important for you? Those big dreams. If you have them, this process will probably help you. Next slide. The book, the Prosperity Playbook and the Prosper process is built on the prosperity ladder. And like any ladder, you start at the bottom. If the foundation or the bottom of the ladder, it won't hold you, the top of the ladder won't hold you, right? So the first level is data. And my experience of business owners after working with them for 37 years now is that very few small business owners have the quality of the data that they need. They might have some data, they might have an accounting system, they have a bookkeeper, but really solid, actionable, easy to use data that they can use to make good decisions is often missing. So that's the first step. How do you put some really quality data together? The next step is cash flow. And of course, in this particular crisis, we've always worked with our clients with cash flow, but the first thing that came to mind as COVID hit was making sure everybody was solid with their cash flow. Because if you don't know where you're going to pay your bills, you obviously can't think about what your long-term plan is, right? So knowing how to be solid with your cash flow. Once you know that, you can work on profit and improving your profit. Then you can think about how to improve your lifestyle. And last, your legacy. Maybe you have a legacy business that you want to transfer to the next generation. Maybe you want to sell it, or maybe your legacy is just somehow what you do with your clients right now, how you're going to be for yourself with your clients. Next slide. So this is an example, and it's just one of many examples of what I call smart data. It's a cash headroom tool. And if you go on our website, mackeyadvisors.com, you can download this tool and use it for free. This is all of our clients use this tool. It's very simple. It has 3 numbers on it. Where your actual cash is, that's the line that's moving around. The red line is what red usually means. That's warning. When your cash is around the red line, that means you need to make some major changes. And when you're at the green line, that was your goal. That's where you need to be safe and secure, right, in your business. So I like this tool. I get it emailed to me every Monday morning. It takes me 5 seconds. I know everything's good, and I can go about running my business. That's the purpose. It's easy, quick, actionable data. Next slide. The Prosper process is built on an annual cycle of planning and development we talked about, and it starts with a process called Grow 4 Ways. We do that in a webinar format, and that process, just recently we'd had a client, in fact, recently, like last week, we had a client that went through that process that identified 3 easy ways to develop $675,000 worth of new revenue in their business at not adding any cost, not adding any new people. So that's mostly going to fall to their bottom line. So for an investment in a part of their day with their team, they got some great new ideas. That leads them into developing their annual plan. We use a fill-in-the-blank system called cascading metrics. I'm going to show you that in a minute. And then from the cascading metrics, which is kind of all your big picture goals, a detailed annual plan is developed. Then we put together the indicators to see, so we can track regularly, are you on or off goal? And we put in scorecarding so we can measure the activities that are important to developing those, to reaching those goals. And the last 3 tools that we use are tools to check in with the owner to make sure that we're not achieving the goals at the expense of burnout of you personally. So the satisfaction inventory, the take back your time tools, and the business by design tools are all created to make sure that the business owner is living their life as well as running their business. Next slide. This is the cascading metrics tool that I mentioned. It is a very simple fill in the blank system. We ask business owners to use it in a variety of ways. One way that you can use it is you set your net income goal. That's under financial results. That's the most important goal for you because your business is often your largest asset, and what that financial result will be is up to you and your team. And so what is it that you're trying to achieve in terms of results? You can set that goal and then let your team do the rest. Check in with them, or you can be involved in the entire process. But we're only setting the really big goals. What are the key initiatives, the big picture goals with customers, sales and margin, net income, and financial strength that we want to achieve. From there, next slide, you're going to create your annual plan. And that big annual plan is going to start with you've started now with your long-term vision. So the process is going to take you out, back in, and out again. So you can think about, like, I have my long-term vision. I move that into annual planning and development. That becomes my 90-day forecast, my 90-day plan. Then I have my 30-day sprints with my 30-day and check in with my coach. I see whether I'm on track. And again, now I go into the phase of, did I achieve my goals? Am I celebrating and paying out some nice incentive bonuses? And have I achieved my long-term goals before your planning process and cycle starts again? Next slide. The system comes with 6 coaches that work with our clients that have a variety of backgrounds, everything from banking and CPAs to finance and acumen, but everybody has deep financial acumen. We have strategic planners on our team as well. And it is a team sport in our office, and we work as a team with our clients. So we think that's super, super important. Next slide. The tools that are in the book, the Prosperity Playbook. You can read about them there, but you can also download them from our website. So there's lots of them. There's the variety of scorecards, the cascading metrics tool that I mentioned, the cash headroom tool that I showed you. There's also our blog posts are there and all kinds of other tools that come directly from the Prosperity Playbook. So rather than just seeing them in the book, you can actually download them and use them today, tomorrow, whenever you need them. They're right there, mackeyadvisors.com under resources. So I hope you'll take advantage of that. Next slide. So with Prosper for Business and with the Prosperity Playbook tools, we say the only thing holding you back from the business you really want is you. So I hope that you'll take advantage of those tools. I've gone through them in lightning speed because I know this is 30 minutes and I want to have some time for your Q&A. So at this point, I think that's where we're going to move. Actually, we're going to have two questions for you first. So the first one is, what's in your way of achieving your goals? Don't analyze it. Just write down when that question comes up, what's in your way of achieving your goals, achieving your dreams? What comes to mind? Just write that down. So you've looked at what's your business utopia. Now, what's in your way?
So Maggie, we're starting to see some answers coming in on the chat.
Great.
Yeah.
Do a few more of you want to weigh in, or if you don't want to write it, if you don't want to put it in the chat, at least write it down for yourself. Okay, next slide. So what one commitment, if there's one thing I know is that we have to have a commitment to change to move forward. So what one commitment could you make right now that you will agree to do for yourself to move you forward on your goals? What's that one thing? Write that down or put it in the chat, even better, that we can all see and all share. Great. Jenny's going to download the tools from the webinar and the website. There were some really good things out there. Actually, I've had some other advisors download our tools, so we welcome everyone to share our tools. Okay, great. So we have a little time, I think, for Q&A.
Yes. So would just like to reach out to the audience. First of all, just thank you, Mackey. Amazing. Love hearing your story and your guidance. So we're seeing some more comments come in about, actions that people could take forward. We're seeing a comment come in from Jeff about setting goals and measuring progress. So maybe we could just start off with, where do you find, I just start off with a question and I invite others to post questions in the chat, and I'll do my best to facilitate and get those to Mackey and help her respond to them. But maybe we could just start off with, Mackey, where do you feel that most leaders get stuck? When you think about the Prosperity Playbook, is there an area that you find that they tend to get stuck and they need a bit more support?
I think there's a very, because business owners are people and they get stuck for the reasons that most people get stuck, is that we have busy day-to-day lives, right? So we're just busy trying to make things work. And I think as a business owner, I've always loved business owners. I've been a business owner, so obviously since I was 27. There's always more things to do in a day than you're ever going to get done. So how do you focus from that standpoint of the hecticness of just running your business day to day? How do you focus on saying, where am I going to go and how am I going to get there? And how do I get out of this treadmill of burnout? I often find that people are working way more than they'd really like to work and working way harder than they'd really like to do, and losing some time with their family because they don't know how to do it differently. So it's about creating better structures and support systems, which is what the Prosperity Playbook tools are about, so that you can get out of that treadmill of working too hard. So I think that's probably where people mostly get caught.
Great. Okay. Other questions that might come from the audience? Anybody want to weigh in with something? Either come off of mute or post a question in on the chat. So, as we're waiting for questions to come in, Mackey, another thing that comes to my mind is that the methods that you've laid out in the Prosperity Playbook starts with data. If I remember the slide that had all the circles.
Mm-hmm.
Any guidance, or is it maybe it's a part of the tool set on your website for executives on the call today? Many of them are probably just covered up with data often in running their business, whether it's around production data, financial data. And I think the difficulty a lot of us face is like, how do you narrow in and zero in on the right data to keep forefront of your mind? How do you guide us to kind of get started with that very first step that you spoke of in your talk today?
Good question, Jenny. There is a tool on our website. It's at mackeyadvisors.com called the Financial Factors Scorecard. It's under the scorecards, and it outlines really some big picture questions regarding your financial system, your current financial system, because that's where you really have to start. There are financial measures and there are activity measures, and the first thing you have to get is you have to get your financial measures in order. And what I find is that when I'm looking at business owners' books and records, often those financial records are not accurate enough to really make any great decisions about or from. So the first step is to really clean that up. So if you use the financial factors scorecard, it gives, I think there's 8 or 9 categories, it allows you to self-assess and say, where do I really need to start? And I would also say that in the book, I addressed like, how do you work with your internal team? Most bookkeepers really want to do a super good job, but they need often a little extra guidance from somebody, usually on a pretty regular basis, to someone that they can ask questions to. So if you can find that resource of how can your bookkeeper, how can your accountant find someone that really can help them when they come up with a question they don't know how to answer, and overlook what they're doing from time to time and give them tips, that's also helpful. But the financial factor scorecard can really give you a way to self-assess that's helpful to start.
Okay, that's great. Do you see the tools that you're talking about today? I know that you talked a lot about business owners. Do you see them scalable? I know some of our audience today may be joining us from very large corporate entities. Talk about how you see the tools that you're talking about from the Prosperity Playbook and how they might scale beyond a family-owned business to larger scale, maybe even public enterprises.
That's a great question, Jenny. I would say that a lot of my vision for how this came to be, I am in Cincinnati, the home of Procter & Gamble, and of course, you naturally meet lots of Procter & Gamble people along the way. And what I was impressed by right away is they all knew where they were going, and they all knew their particular metrics for their particular role in the business. And yet at that time, I'd been working with business owners, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. And I thought very few of my business clients, and I was one of them, knew how to tell their team what were their goals and how are they going to achieve them. So for the most part, people want, as I said, just like your bookkeeper wants to do a good job, I think people want to do a good job, and often they're doing the best they can with the understanding of what they think you want. So a scorecarding system, I find, is so valuable, and I'm assuming that most of you that working in large businesses, I'd love to hear your experience, have some sort of way that you have a scorecard for your own work. And I find business owners particularly resistant to that because they feel like it would be maybe a little too invasive, or you're checking in, but it actually gives people a lot of clarity around what's really critical for them to get done every week. So would anybody be willing to share in the chat their own experience with having good scorecarding systems in their large company?
This is Jeff. One of the things that our company, we buy and sell new businesses, or buy and sell businesses. One of the things that we encourage is that companies post their goals or post their metrics on the wall, and then set red and green limits, much like the graph that you said for cash, but set it within each department and within each organization. Is it set your goals of what are you trying to accomplish, and then recurringly measure those. And then, in some areas you may measure, like in a production area or a manufacturing area, you may measure daily. But this always goes all the way up to the C-suite, where they may measure and take action on it on a monthly basis. But I really like the concept you made, and we try to use that too, of the red green. At what level does action take place? And if you're below that level, somebody's got to take action, and you make that real clear. And above that level, that's green, that's good. And then over the years, maybe you want to raise up whatever good is. And maybe good was 95% last year, and next year it might be 97%. But if you don't have that red-green limit in these good measures, it really makes a dramatic difference in the effectiveness of the company.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. Thanks for sharing. And there is this clarity that comes from being super clear. It takes a little, I think what's scary is people don't know how to set the measures. And setting wrong measures can be dysfunctional, but also sometimes you set the wrong measures and then you figure out they're the wrong measures. So the better thing is to just get started, I think. What do you have thoughts about that, Jeff?
That is a challenge of companies to get started. And you would think, I know when we go into a new business, we often think of we'd start in the C-suite or start at the top of the business, but often it's easier to start at the lowest level, start at those kind of level and work your way up when we're setting these visual scorecards within our businesses. That it's actually trying to pick a critical part of your business and what part of the business is most important, and then working that. I know in this time of COVID, for a lot of our businesses, one of the things that got to be fairly dramatic was to measure cash, as you stated. And so a lot of our businesses, when February and March hit, that was one of the big things. How are we going to look at cash? And then we got to look at this at least once a week, of where are we going and where we think it's going to go, so that we can take actions ahead of time.
Yeah, I'm glad Jeff talked about cash. The cash headroom is a tool that we use with clients weekly. I encourage everybody to look at their cash weekly. In this time, we've been doing 16-week cash forecasts as well. And those can be super helpful when you're, anytime you're in a major growth spurt, because growth eats your cash flow, or in times of crisis like we are today. A cash forecast can be important. But in any time, I always say, always and forever, use your cash headroom tool. It's just brings you comfort, if nothing else. And it tells you, as Jeff said, when to take action.
That's great. Well, great conversation. I kind of hate to interject, but unfortunately we are at time. So I wanted to say thank you so much, Mackey, for joining us today and inspiring us with all the tips and insights around the Prosperity Playbook and a lot of the resources that you use at Mackey Advisors. Thank you so much for joining us. And thanks to our audience for participating and joining in the conversation. I want to just encourage you to join us again. Our Inspire series continues throughout this year. We have a lot of new and fun things coming up. We're actually doing a live idea jam. If you want to get involved in brainstorming around diversity and inclusion, and that's coming up on August the 26th. We have a speaker coming up August the 28th on the power of creativity in education. And then virtual reality makes a hit in the corporate America on September 2nd with a speaker on that play. And then, of course, something that we do a lot in innovation, and that is planning for failure. Talk on that coming up on September the 18th. So I hope you'll continue to join us for our Inspire series, and you can learn more about that at www.bridgeinnovate.com under events. Thanks again for everybody for joining today. We'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye now.